place. Let's go.
An individual provided us with a list of Russian sources in the U.S.
These are enemies of the state.
Is our national security compromised?
Without a question.
We demand justice.
The mission was already dangerous, but now it looks like someone has taken the threat to a completely different level. And when national security is on the line, there is no room for mistakes, no room for trust, and definitely no room for mercy. The new promo for Special Ops, Lioness Season 3 Episode 5, titled The Idiot Army, is teasing a situation where one wrong move could expose everything. Zoe Saldana's Joe is once again pushed into the center of a mission where the enemy may not be as obvious as it seems, and this time, the real danger could be coming from inside the operation itself. Section 1. The latest promo for Special Ops, Lioness Season 3 Episode 5 immediately raises one major question. Who can Joe actually trust when the pressure starts closing in? The previous events have already shown that this mission is not going to follow a simple path. And now the situation appears to be getting even more unstable. Joe has spent years dealing with threats that most people never even know exist, but this time the danger feels much closer, much more personal and far more unpredictable. The title The Idiot Army itself sounds like a warning that someone is making serious mistakes, and in Joe's world, a small mistake can quickly become a national security disaster. The promo seems to push that tension even further, suggesting that the operation is entering a stage where every decision has consequences. Joe cannot afford to hesitate, because the people around her may already be moving pieces that she cannot fully control. And that is what makes this episode so interesting. The biggest threat may not simply be an enemy standing across the battlefield. It could be information, manipulation, betrayal, or a plan that has been hidden in front of everyone from the beginning. Joe understands that intelligence is power, but intelligence can also become a weapon when it falls into the wrong hands. As the pressure increases, she will have to determine what is real and what is being deliberately fed to her. The promo creates the feeling that someone knows more than they are saying, and that immediately puts Joe in an extremely dangerous position. She has always been willing to make difficult choices for the mission, but this time the cost of those choices could be much higher. What makes Joe such a dangerous operator is not simply her ability to command people. It is the fact that she knows how quickly a situation can collapse. She knows that once an operation goes wrong, there may not be enough time to fix it. And that is why she cannot allow emotion, pressure, or political interference to control her next move. But the deeper question is whether she is still dealing with a mission she understands. Because if the objective has changed without her knowledge, then Joe could be walking directly into a trap. The title The Idiot Army also suggests that the episode may explore the consequences of people who underestimate the situation. There are always people who believe they understand the game because they have access to information, power, or weapons. But Joe knows better. Real operations are built on patience, timing, and control. One careless decision can expose an entire network. One wrong person can compromise years of work. And one emotional reaction can turn a controlled mission into chaos. That is why the tension surrounding this episode feels so high. Joe is not simply trying to complete another assignment. She may be trying to prevent a chain reaction before it becomes impossible to stop. At the same time, the people working around her are likely facing their own pressure. When an operation becomes this complicated, loyalty starts becoming difficult to measure. Someone can appear loyal while secretly protecting another agenda. Someone can appear weak while holding the most important information. And someone who looks completely harmless can become the biggest threat in the room. That uncertainty is exactly what makes Lioness so intense. The show does not depend only on explosions or action. The real suspense comes from not knowing who will make the next move. Joe has to think several steps ahead, but the problem is that her opponents may be doing the same thing. And if both sides are trying to predict each other, the first person to make a mistake could lose everything. Another major question heading into Episode 5 is how much control Joe still has over the larger operation. She may be the person everyone looks toward when things become dangerous, but even Joe has limits. There are political interests, intelligence agencies, personal agendas, and powerful people who may not agree on what the mission should become. When those interests collide, Joe could find herself fighting two battles at the same time. One battle against the external threat and another inside the system she is supposed to protect. That second battle could become the more dangerous one, because it is much harder to identify the enemy when everyone is wearing the same uniform. And this is where the suspense of the new promo becomes even stronger. If someone inside the operation is hiding critical information, Jo cannot simply move forward as planned. She needs to find the truth before making her next move. But every minute she spends investigating could give the real enemy more time to act. It creates a dangerous race against time. Jo needs answers, but the people with those answers may have their own reasons for staying silent. The phrase national security has always carried serious weight in this world. But this episode appears ready to show just how far people are willing to go when they believe the country is under threat. Justice can quickly turn into revenge. Protection can quickly turn into control. And a mission designed to stop an enemy can create an entirely new enemy in the process. That moral uncertainty has always been one of the strongest parts of Special Ops. Lioness, and Episode 5 seems ready to push it even further. Jo has to decide whether following orders is still the same thing as doing what is right. And if those two things finally move in opposite directions, which side will she choose? The answer could change everything. There is also the possibility that the operation is being used as a distraction. While everyone is focused on one visible threat, someone else could be moving quietly in the background. That would explain why the atmosphere around this episode feels so suspicious. The most dangerous plan is often the one nobody notices until it is already too late. If Jo realizes that the target she has been watching is not the real target, then the entire mission could suddenly take a completely different direction. And when that happens, she will have very little time to react. The promo appears to be building toward exactly that kind of turning point. A moment where the information everyone trusted suddenly becomes questionable. A moment where Jo has to stop and ask herself who is actually controlling the operation. And once that question enters her mind, there may be no going back. What makes this even more dangerous is that Jo cannot simply walk away. Too much is already at stake. Too many people are involved. And if the operation collapses, the consequences could reach far beyond the people directly involved. That is why the next episode could become one of the most important chapters of the season. It may reveal that the real conflict is much larger than what we have been shown so far. The title, The Idiot Army, could be pointing toward people who believe they are powerful enough to control the situation, only to discover that they have completely underestimated the enemy. But if Jo is forced to clean up someone else's mistake, she may have to make a decision that changes the entire mission. And that is where the episode could become truly unpredictable. Will Jo trust the people giving her orders, or will she follow her own instincts? Will she expose the truth before the damage is done, or will the enemy make the first move? And most importantly, who is actually pulling the strings? These are the questions that make the Episode 5 promo so intriguing. Because in Special Ops, Lioness, the biggest threat is rarely the one standing directly in front of you. Sometimes the real danger is the information you believe, the person you trust, or the order you follow without questioning it. Jo knows that better than anyone. But this time, knowing the rules may not be enough. She may have to break them. And if she does, there could be no way to undo what comes next. Episode 5 looks like it is preparing to take the story into a much darker and more dangerous phase, where trust becomes a weakness and every decision could expose the truth. The question is no longer whether the mission will become dangerous. It is how much damage will happen before Jo realizes just how deep the problem really goes. And if the promo is giving us only a small glimpse of what is coming, then the biggest twist may still be hidden. Because when the people inside the operation start becoming impossible to trust, the mission is no longer just about defeating the enemy. It becomes about discovering who the enemy really is before they strike first.